If you're ready to learn the dark secrets of this family movie, let's talk about The Ravine. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watch or Pass. Today I'm going to give you a 5-minute review of The Ravine, which comes to theaters, digital, and on demand on May 6, 2022. My 5-minute reviews mean I'm going to talk about this film for 5 minutes and turn it off at 5 minutes no matter where I am. So my hot take is I think you should rent it. It has a lot going for it. I like the acting, I like the music, I like the depiction of grief and the underlying message, but some of the themes and resolution of the film didn't hit for me. So ultimately I was a little unfulfilled at the end. So I'm gonna tell you a little more about the film, a few things I like, a few things I didn't like, and hopefully I can get to it all in 5 minutes. So in The Ravine, you have an unspeakable crime that happens where a father murders his wife and son, leaves one son alive, and then kills himself. So that kind of rocks this area and also rocks those who are closest to him because no one expected that from him. So the film deals a lot with that family's two best friends, Mitch, played by Eric Dane, and Carolyn, played by Teri Polo. And they're dealing with this incident, like how it could happen, dealing with the loss of their friends, dealing with what, their friend Danny did to his family and then himself. And overcoming the grief that they didn't see anything, that they didn't stop this earlier. It's an interesting movie. And during this, you get scenes in the past of things that happened that shaped these characters along the way. So things I liked about the movie. The first is the acting. I thought the main characters were well acted and showed a really good range. And they got to go through a lot of levels of emotion. They have to go through happiness in the happy scenes, very, very deep grief in the sad scenes. And overall, I thought that there was just some really good writing and acting in this movie. There's one scene involving a character named Eric where he has to forgive some people that I thought was really, really well done. I actually went back and rewatched his like forgiveness speech to them and kind of how he overcame what he was feeling. I thought that was really good. There was some really interesting writing. There's one of my favorite lines in a family drama where Danny and Mitch are talking. Danny goes to Mitch and he's like, do you ever think what life would be like without Carol and the kids? And Mitch says, I don't know. I do have a life with Carol and the boys. I don't think about it. And I liked that a lot because you often hear about people wondering, like, what would life be like? What would life be like if something different didn't happen? I liked Mitch's response. Where it's like, but this is my life. Like, this is what it is. So I don't think about any other way. Like, this is what I live in. The second thing I liked is the music. The music is really beautiful. It's sometimes haunting. It really kind of helps to set the tone. This is a drama. This is definitely a dark drama. And the music does help to kind of build that up a lot. The third thing I liked is the depiction of grief. There is a lot of grief that happens in this film, and there are a lot of emotions. There's depression that happens, there's blaming, there is kind of just like this need to understand and anger that happens. And overall, I thought that it had a pretty good range of emotions in this movie. It didn't feel like anyone was kind of one-sided. It didn't feel like any specific character was only grieving in one way. They kind of go through waves of emotion as they kind of came to grips with what happened. And the last thing I liked is the underlying message to a point. I liked the idea of, forgiveness, not holding on to your anger, and being a kind of main theme of this film. But that leads me directly to the things I didn't like. So things I didn't like, there will be some spoilers in this part as I talk about what happens in the film. So if you don't want to know what happens, turn this off now. The first thing I didn't like is, I don't know, some of the underlying themes in this film. I don't like how it felt like it kind of limited personal responsibility. Now, to start, this film is a faith-based movie. It's not really obvious at the start. Towards the end, it gets more on the faith side. It's not too faith-based, but it definitely has a strong faith message. And one of the things that happens is there's an explanation of what Danny did, and they kind of describe it as like he had, essentially demons. He had a darkness to him, and sometimes the darkness would push him over the edge or like tempt him. And they keep saying things like, well, he has free will, he made his choice. But then they say things like, oh well, but the darkness kind of like pushed him over just that little bit, or the darkness like spoke to him at that time and convinced him to do this. So it really does feel like it limits the what Danny did. And I didn't love that because it in the film, Danny did a terrible thing, and I guess he kind of took responsibility for it when he killed himself, but he did still do a terrible thing. And so having this be like this angel and demon on your shoulder really felt like it kind of minimized his impact. The second thing I didn't like is the ending. The ending has, I don't know, it seems to kind of resolve a little too quickly. It seems like the characters, Mitch and Carolyn, come to be okay with what Danny did and kind of come to accept it. I think, acceptance is one thing, and maybe not being angry at him, but they also seem to like, I don't know, it feels like everything resolves too quickly. Like in the ending, they say like Danny's in heaven with everyone and everyone's forgiving him, which does feel a little bit too easy. It kind of goes with the same thought I had the underlying themes. It feels a little too easy of a resolution for a terrible crime that really affected everyone and did some horrible things. And the last thing I didn't love is there is this kind of like mystic character. She's, you know, described as this white-haired, olive-skinned lady. She's kind of a Jesus figure. She has like visions of things. She knows what happened. I thought it was a little weird. You know, she is a pivotal character in this because she is someone that is constantly preaching forgiveness and constantly preaching, like, you know, to leave your anger and to make the right choices. But she is a little bit too all-knowing. It does turn this film from, you know, an interesting kind of like grief exploration into something that feels very different, something that feels a little more mystical, has a little bit more of a mysticism type message. I didn't love that part about it. I thought it was really interesting at the start. And like, to be clear, I'm fine with faith-based movies. I've reviewed a lot of faith-based movies. I don't have a problem with that, but this one felt like she was a little bit too supernatural.